All right. Well, I'm out here trying to get more stuff organized, and I'm not really sure what to do with this monitor over here. I haven't been using the 710. I've got these two radios here I mostly use. Um, I'm not sure I like this setup here. Um, the tube hybrid radios are kind of fun to use, but like they're not what I would consider to be workhorse radios. Like if you're actually like trying to get out there and make a lot of contacts and stuff, or anything other than very casual operating, they're kind of a pain in the butt. Um, I'm actually not even sure sometimes why I have them. Other than I think they look kind of cool, but realistically, any new ham operators wouldn't be interested in none of these. They would be, too difficult to figure out. I mean, these are kind of like radios for people that either grew up on them or, learned how to use them. So they're actually really before my time because I'm 47 years old, and so these radios, a couple of them are probably older than me, or really close to as old as me. So, the radios that are more kind of like what I would have had if I'd gotten, licensed in my 20s would have been, these ICOMs. I would have never owned any of these radios like when they had come out because I was too young. So I was thinking about it. I was like, well, what actual radios would have been like, the thing? But so when I got licensed in 2014, the radio that was the thing was really the Pro 2, I think, the ICOM 756 Pro 2. And I said, don't think the Pro 3 was out yet. Well, yeah, I guess it must have been. I'm going to have to look that up, but the ICOM flagship radio would have been the 756 Pro 3 or 2. And I'm sure that ICOM had some other, radio like the 7700 or something. I don't know, maybe the 7600 would have been out then. I really am not 100% sure on that. So, let's see. So, but when I was looking for a radio in 2014, or actually 2013, there was basically recommended to me the ICOM 718, which I actually did end up buying. But a lot of people were still really after the ICOM 706 Mark II-G, and they were like $700, $800 still. Occasionally, you would maybe find a deal on one for like $650 or $600. But the 718 at that time was like barely more than $500 new. And I foolishly bought one used for $500, and it was a good radio. It's just kind of boring to me. Let's see, I didn't really care for the receiver on it, but I've since heard from some other people, they've been making that radio for a really long time, and they still make it. I think the 718 might have came out in 2000. Hey, let's see if we can find a magazine up here on the shelf. From 2000, August 2000. Okay, so let's take this magazine here, and we're gonna go and look and see. Okay, what radios are for sale in the year 2000? And boom. That's pretty crazy. So this radio here, in one form or another, has been around at least since August of 2000. Now, the other radio that came out that year would have been the TS2000. This is the radio, my first ICOM radio, actually, right here, the T7H. In 2014 or 2013, I bought one of these, yeah. I bought it right before I got my license. And it came with a battery and a AA battery pack. And I bought it from a guy for $80. And it's actually a very, very rugged radio. I think the front of the radio is actually kind of made out of like metal. So, but anyway, I don't know if this is like if it had just come out. So anyway, these were out at that time too, so I ended up with both of these radios, more or less. I didn't really keep this long because I got a Bofang UV5R, and I thought, you know, I can sell this, and you know, basically, I didn't know any better. I didn't realize this had airband and some other stuff, and so I sold it for, I think, pretty much just the $80 I paid for it. But I had a UV5R, and it's in here somewhere. The UV5RA, and I bought it for like $40 from somebody. So I don't know if this radio would go back further than 2000, but so this is that radio. I have that radio. I don't know what year that one came out. DX77T. I have never seen one of these. Grundig. New R75 HF receiver. Okay, let's just go into the back of the thing. What is this? This Kenwood looks nuts. It's a TMD 700. Look at that. I've always wanted one of those, but I've heard they have lots of problems. There's another radio one might have an 847. Also the 1000 MP Mark V. And here the 746. The 746 and the 756 Pro. So basically, the 746 Pro wasn't out yet. Here's the Mark IIG. It says it's a special. It doesn't say the price. And so the 718 is marked as new. There's the 775 DSP. So I'd say it's safe to assume that the 718 came out in 2000. As well as the Mark IIG. The Mark IIG is probably even older than that. So realistically, the Mark IIG is probably from the late 90s. The 756 Pro is new in 2000. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. So I don't know what else is going to be in here. Wow, they're stupid enough to show what the inside of that crappy antenna switch looks like. So this thing is like literally just little pieces. And this thing just pushes across them with a metal ring. It's not precision. Yeah, look. Coupon, $25. 756 Pro. $200 coupon. What is this for? What company is this? Radio City. Never heard of them. Here's the 920. You know, it's really hard to know when a lot of this stuff came out if you weren't there then. Because, you know, I wasn't into ham radio then. HF with a color screen. R&L Electronics. They did some really good deals, R&L does. There's the 570 DG. 950 SDX. That's another really nice radio. 870. Visual communicator. Huh. So we have here ICOM special amateur radio electronic supply. 706 Mark II-G, 775 DSP, the new R75, the new 718, the new 756 Pro, and the new 2800H. The new 90R Micro. Huh. Okay. 920. Yeah, so anyway, so the radio that I would have had, I don't think I have a 2014 issue. I think the newest one's a 2004. So anyway, the radio that I would have been buying brand new would have been a Pro 2, Pro 3, or something like that. And that would have been, you know, probably $3,000, something like that. You know, so it'd be the equivalent of probably buying a 1000 MP. Now, one of the things we've been talking about lately on the radio is that a lot of these radios don't do 100 watts on sideband. You'll key them up on RTTY, FM, or CW, and you see 100 watts. If you go talk on them on sideband, and they do, like, you know, even if you whistle into it, they don't do 100 watts. Which is kind of weird, because, like, these ICOMs that I have over here, if I key them up, they actually do more than 100 watts on CW. They're more like, you know, 130. So all the ICOMs that I've had, which would be a 718, a 706, a 706 Mark II-G, a 726, a 751, a 761, a 756 Pro, a 756 Pro 2, and then another 756 Pro, the 746 Pro, and all of them have done well over 100 watts on CW, and they all seem to do 100 watts on sideband, read on a peak reading meter, or if you just whistle. I've owned two 7300s, both I bought brand new, and they don't do 100 watts on sideband. You have to turn the processor on to get 100 watts out of them. And so my friend bought a 770 an ICOM 7700, a 200 watt radio. It doesn't do 200 watts. It does like 150. But you key it down, you know, and it does 200. And it says it's designed to do RTTY and digital, 200 watts, 100% duty cycle. But the radio doesn't do 200 watts on sideband, and nothing that he does makes it do 200 watts, which is really weird. And a lot of people that own those radios are like, yeah, they just don't do 200 watts. Like, oh, you have a $10,000 radio, $11,000 radio new, and it doesn't do 200 watts, but it's rated at 200 watts. That's stupid. So I'm trying to remember what this radio does, and I'm trying to remember what the 991 does, and I'm trying to remember all that. And so I'm going to come back and just kind of do a little test. So I'll hook that up and just kind of see. Now, you can a lot of times look at the radio and see. It's not like the radio is going to lie to you and say that it's putting out, you know, that much power. Yeah, I've got this meter down here on this Heathkit. And then actually the amplifier, if I turn it on and don't key it up, it's got 2 meters on it. It's an actual peak reading meter, which is pretty accurate on high power. And then it's got like a RMS meter, which I don't know that's super accurate. The problem with like the meters and things like that is like, I forget what it is, like a bird watt meter is like 5 to 15% accurate or something stupid. And so like to accurately read, you know, single sideband peak power, you need a peak reading meter, not an MFJ tuner with some capacitors in it that, you know, hold the signal. They hold it as the, what happens is with those type of meters is the signal charges up the capacitors. In some cases, like this particular meter, it overcharges them and makes the meter read erroneous, like higher than normal. MFJ's pretty much figured out how to kind of mimic a peak reading meter pretty closely without having to have a peak circuit. And my hats are off to them for that. They really did a good job on that. The 989s and stuff like that, a lot of them are pretty accurate, even though they're not true peak meters. But the new ones are, and I don't have any experience with the new MFJs as far as how accurate they are, but I just kind of have real rudimentary ways of measuring things. And, you know, I do have the dielectric, which is equivalent to a bird or a coaxial dynamics. And I can, you know, I've only got a 500 watt slug, so like it's not accurate for reading 100 watts really. So anyway, we'll do some testing, but I think this one's a little anemic if I remember correctly. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and finish up this video, and then I'll make a new video where we'll get everything set up, and we'll just test and just kind of get an idea of what radios do what. So anyways, this is just kind of like I'm kind of doing like a ham radio talk type of series where just get on here and talk about radio stuff and my opinions and, you know, different things. So I will make a video. We'll document the relative power output differences between the different radios and discuss how new radios aren't really putting out 100 watts on sideband. They're not really rated to have 100% duty cycle. Like the new 710 says, do not transmit for extended periods of time. You might damage it. Wait, huh? What do you mean? I can't just sit and talk on this thing all day? So anyway, we'll discuss that later in the next video. We'll catch you guys later. 7-3.